Hey everyone, welcome to Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Now, in this video, I'm going to discuss the character of Sidney's oldest daughter, who is rumored to be named Tatum, and she'll be played by Isabel May in Scream 7. Now, I'm going to share my thoughts on what we could potentially see from her character and how those contrasting options could affect the storyline of the movie. So let's talk about Sidney's daughter Tatum and what may be in store for her character in the movie and what may be in store for us as well. Let's go!
It's David Arquette, Dewey from the Scream movies, as you know. Remember, there's only one rule to surviving a horror movie, and that's subscribing to Craving Something Scary.
So Isabel May was cast to play Sidney's oldest daughter, who we think is named Tatum, and that's what I'll be referring to her as moving forward in the video. And it would be really cool if Sidney did name her firstborn after her best friend in high school. We all remember Tatum in Scream 1. Now, we know that Tatum is in high school, and it looks like all of the younger cast members will be in her friend group. Thus, they will be mostly the primary suspects for Scream 7. Although, there are some other new characters that are older, but very much could be suspects as well. Now, in a few months, I'm going to be putting together my murder board of all the suspects in the movie, and we'll start making my official predictions for Scream 7. But it's too early yet for that. We'll do that probably sometime in the fall, getting close to the end of the year. So for now, let's get back to Sidney's oldest daughter, Tatum, and what could potentially be seen from her character in Scream 7. And when I think about the possibilities, there are really a couple of questions that stand out. Number one is that since Tatum is Sidney's daughter, the default position for most all of us, I think, is that she will be pursued and hunted by someone most likely in her friend group who will be a ghost face. So let's pursue this angle first. So the question then is, why would Ghostface pursue Tatum instead of just Sidney? And the question of motive is a tough one to know, obviously, without seeing the movie and who the characters actually are. However, we can definitely theorize, and one huge motive that comes to mind is that one of the kids in her friend group are related to Stu Macher. Now, we know Leslie Macher is out there from Scream 5, and somewhere in the universe of Scream, we've never seen her, but she's there. And with the casting of Anna Camp in the movie, it makes things very intriguing. Now, Anna Camp's going to play a character that's rumored to be Sidney's neighbor, and she'll be approximately the same age as Sidney in the movie as well. So, we could possibly have a scenario that she ends up turning out to be Leslie Macher, which will be a shock to everyone in the movie because they will only know her under her alias, her fake name to the characters. They will have no idea she's Leslie Macher. What if Leslie and maybe her child, male or female, is in Tatum's group and is thus a ghost face hunting down Tatum in the movie and Sidney as well? Now, that's one scenario that would make sense as a motive for Ghostface in Scream 7 in relation to Sidney's daughter, Tatum. Definitely could be the case. Now, I'm going to flip the coin over for just a second, though, because I want to ask another question. Could Tatum be the hunter as a Ghostface killer in Scream 7? And if you think about this, what if Tatum actually is a Ghostface? Well, the biggest mystery again to solve is around motive. Why would Tatum be going after her mom? Now, this is a tough one. And if it turns out she is a Ghostface, it will be such a tragic and traumatic moment for Sidney if she knows that her daughter was coming after her. Now, this aside for just a moment, when it comes to motive, I'm going to have to tie it back to Leslie Mocker or her child. So she's at the age where Leslie Mocker, if Anna Camp is Leslie, she definitely could have a kid the same age as Sidney's daughter. They could both be in high school, easily friends at this point. And I'm thinking, what if Tatum is actually dating Leslie's son or daughter and is thoroughly in love with them? Like, they are completely inseparable. And it gets to a point where their daughter or son of Tatum maybe they reveal their identity. And with the help of Leslie Mocker as well, they both convince Tatum that Sidney was actually the one to blame for the events of what happened with Stu and Billy, and that Sidney's been lying to Tatum her entire life, and all the events that followed, from all the way going down for Sidney's life to Scream 4, everything, Scream 5, all these things that she's had to witness in her life and has turned her life upside down as a kid growing up. What if she's convinced by Leslie Mocker and Leslie's child, who she's dating? I'm hypothesizing that she's dating, or at the very least, super good friends with. They convince her, after conversations multiple times, that Sidney really was to blame. And Leslie knows it because she was around back then. And she buys it. And she completely is fully committed to turning against her own mom, Sidney, and is joining Leslie and Leslie's kid as one of the Ghostface killers in the movie. And this is a dark scenario, guys, obviously. But it's one scenario that I can think of for Sidney's daughter to be a Ghostface killer coming after Sidney in Scream 7. It makes sense. But I do have one more idea to share that brings a twist to this theory. And that's this. What if Tatum does find out the identity of Leslie Mocker and Leslie's child, who, again, is in her friend group, or maybe more, even dating. And then Tatum becomes a Ghostface, not to attack her mom, but to go after the Mockers for revenge on what Stu did to her mom. She becomes almost this vigilante, revengeful Ghostface coming after the Mockers, Leslie and her child. Now, in this scenario, again, if it plays out, there will be Leslie and her kid being the main Ghostface killers who are doing the killings in the movie and are coming after Sidney and even Tatum, while Tatum herself is a separate Ghostface, just like we saw with Tony and Greg in Scream 7 and Scream 6, excuse me. So, or Jason, I'm sorry. Tony's the actor, Tony Rivoli. Jason, you know what I'm talking about. Jason and Greg. But my point here is, any attacks we see in the movie going towards Anna Kemp, the character she's playing, who I think is Leslie, and any attacks going towards Leslie's son or daughter in the movie, maybe maybe Tatum's not successful at killing them. Maybe Tatum has a couple of attacks and doesn't get them all the way and has to run away. those could be Tatum. And then the attacks that end up in murders and the deaths of other students and the attacks on Gail, attacks on Sidney and Sidney's family, and Tatum herself, those are Leslie Mocker and her child. So we got 2 different scenarios, 3 total Ghostface, 2 for being the Mockers, 1 being Tatum. Separate agendas. I personally think this would be a fantastic scenario to unfold. I mean, could you imagine at the end of the movie, you see Sidney and Gail take out Leslie Mocker, and then you see Tatum taking out Leslie's kid from her friend group, or maybe her boyfriend and girlfriend. That would be epic to see unfold in the grand finale. Now, one last thing. If they bring back Stu as a living character, which you guys know, that's what I'm hoping for, this would set up the cliffhanger ending that many of you that have talked to me through videos and live streams have been wanting to see. So you imagine Leslie and her kid are now taken out. Just before the credits roll, Sidney gets one last phone call, or maybe a FaceTime AI video, and it reveals Stu Mocker on the other end. And simply, all he says is, "Surprise, Sidney." And the credits begin right there, setting up Scream 8 for an epic showdown with Stu Mocker, with Sidney and Gail. And so, guys, that's my bonus idea that I'm throwing in that I'd love to see. But regarding Tatum, you've heard my thoughts and scenarios, so you know what time it is. It's time for my favorite part of every video I make, and that's finding out your thoughts, your ideas, your theories. And the way for me to know what you're thinking is only one way. You got to share them right now in the comments section below. So what are your thoughts about Sidney's daughter, who's being played by Isabel May? Will we see her being hunted by Ghostface? Or will we see her being a Ghostface herself? Or will we see both of those scenarios? I love reading what's on your mind, but remember, you do have to leave a comment or I will never know your thoughts. All right, everyone, that's it for this update. I'm going to leave it there for Scream 7 this time around. But don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, this is Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Thanks for watching.